the sunshine.
And action. Hey guys, what is going on? Welcome to Coffee Thoughts Podcast. I know it's been a while since I've made one, but I felt like tonight was the night, so here we are. So before I get going here, I'm just going to tell you guys a little bit about what I've been up to. I just finished working on the score, which means soundtrack, for a Christmas movie called Cup of Cheer that's coming out in November. It was a lot of work. It was about 2 months of work. And it was a really great experience. I definitely learned a lot by kind of taking on that challenge, because it was one of those things where when I started, I was convinced that I wouldn't be able to do it. So I kind of took a leap and just decided to, step out of my comfort zone and do something that I've never done. So that was really great. After that was done, I just got back a couple days ago from the studio. I just recorded a new album called Beneath the Roses, which is a sequel to Between the Roses, which is an older album that I put out in, I think, 2015. So it turned out amazing. It kind of it feels like it was the album that I've wanted to make since I started, and I probably said that about every other album, but it was like a culmination of all the kind of different sounds I've tried, along with a whole bunch of really epic orchestra parts and string parts, which I attribute to scoring the Christmas movie. That kind of taught me how to do that properly. So I worked with my good friend Matt Malpass, who is a super talented producer and writer. I worked with my manager Matt Holmes and my friend JJ, so we all kind of got together and made 11 songs, and I'm very excited about them. They're going to be coming out next year, and then the Nosebleed Deluxe Edition is coming out soon, and there's going to be a Christmas album coming out with Cup of Cheer the film. So that's what I'm currently working on. So today I would like to talk a little bit about acceptance, because I feel like that's such an applicable topic to everything that's going on. But also in my life personally, it's been one of it's been the thing that's been on the surface, I guess, of my awareness. And I think when I was in the studio a couple days ago, for those 2 weeks I was there making the album that I made, I felt like I didn't really think about the outcome at all. I was just so happy just making the songs, and it almost it wasn't a means to an end. It wasn't oh, I'm doing this album so that I can get streams and make money and stuff. It was just that felt like my purpose truly every day, just making the album, waking up, making coffee, going down to the studio. And if I had just made the album and that was it for the rest of my life, I would actually be okay with that. It was this really weird kind of acceptance of just what was happening right then and there. So something I've really worked to develop, and that's been important to me, is developing my perspective. I think more than anything in my life, that's kind of become the most important thing, is developing a perspective and an awareness that makes reality easier to navigate and makes life easier. I kind of got into spirituality and philosophy and all this kind of stuff that I talked about in my previous episodes. I kind of got into it just because I was interested, but it really started to have a very deep real impact on my life and my reality and the way that I experience reality. So it's kind of become something that I want to pursue in order to cultivate a perspective that just continues to make reality an easier experience. And so kind of what I'm getting to is that this was this experience recording was very much I realized that my journey with developing my perspective had a massive effect on the creation of that music, because I was so in the moment, I was so grounded, not worrying about what's going to happen later, that it made the album the best album that I've ever made. And it made it such a stress-free, chill time. There was no problems. It was so easy. Patience and acceptance, I think, are the two most valuable things that you can learn. And I'm only 25 now, but those are the two things that I think are the most important, and the two things that I want to continue to develop. So when I say acceptance, what I mean by that is whatever is happening, whatever your external circumstance is, or whatever happens to you, regardless whether it's good or bad, you accept it as the way that things are at the moment. And you don't react to it, you don't push against it, you accept it. For me, because I can only ever speak, personally of like what I've gone through, but like during this time, it's been very much a test for me. Like I know we're all going through our own challenge with it, but for me, it's been a test of like, okay, like you understand, like if you allow this into your space, it's going to change your reality. It's going to change the way you act and the way you perceive things. So can you keep this disaster, this giant scale disaster out of your space? And that's been the challenge for me. And it's like, can you accept it to the point where you don't allow that external circumstance to change your reality for you? And I think this can be a great time for all of us to try to navigate that, because if you can do it now, I think you can do it with anything. So I think because I don't watch the news, I don't keep up with any of that stuff, and I don't think you should. That's just my opinion. I don't think you should feed into that kind of stuff, because again, that's just allowing like chaos into your space. So I think because of that, like I was already able to like kind of give all the stuff going on in the world less power. But I think the problem is that there's so many people that are addicted to the news and addicted to drama and chaos and reading, constantly consuming like the drama of the world, that people understand that and the media understands that, and so now more than ever there's like a feast of it for everyone. And I think the problem is like if you don't have that awareness first of like understanding that the external circumstance doesn't dictate your experience unless you allow it to. If you don't have that awareness before you consume that stuff, you become it, and it does dictate the way that you see things, and it creates fear. You start acting out of fear, you start talking about it more, which just feeds the energy of it, So that's kind of what I was saying, like being able to record this album in the midst of all that stuff, and it turned out amazing, and still feel like I was just grounded and in the moment, was very much I guess for me like a testament of like just pushing through and like continuing to try to develop that kind of awareness. Because I think the problem is like when all of us start to be afraid together, it's almost like we create the fear, because we start to convince ourselves that the world is a certain way. We start to tell other people that the world is a certain way, and then the world becomes that way because we believe it is, So I think just being able to like accept what's happening and just stay chill through it is like the most important thing you can do, because not only will you be able to just feel more peaceful, you can be like the peace that other people need, like when there's shit going on, you can be the light that people need. And it sounds super cheesy, but like when you can be the person that is in the room, not reacting to what's going on, not being afraid, not being one way or the other about it, and just kind of always maintaining your thing. People need that right now. I think more than ever, people need that, and not a lot of people understand how to do that or how to be that. A lot of people believe that things are the way they are and that's it. But I personally do not believe that's the case. I think as much as it appears that there's concrete evidence of the world being a certain way, I think at the end of the day, you have to come back to like a more fundamental thought of, is there really an external world? Is there really an actual world that is outside of you, outside of me? And for me, in my life, I don't believe that there is. And the reason that I say that is from a lot of times in my life, just kind of feeling that in different situations, the only thing that I've ever experienced is my perspective. I've never experienced any other person's perspective. I've never lived my life through another human's eyes. I've only ever lived my life through my own senses and through my own, my sight, my hearing, my touch. I've only ever experienced reality through that. And if you really think about it, you've only ever experienced reality through your own perspective too. And why I think this is such an important thing to think about and to realize and to just kind of sit with is because you've only ever experienced, the world through your perspective. The world does not exist through anything else except your perspective, because you've never experienced it through anything else. It exists right here with you when you're perceiving it. It's not there somewhere else when you're not perceiving it. It only exists because you're perceiving it. And I know that's like a very confusing kind of thing to understand. I think the best way that I can try to explain this, because it is very hard to articulate, is you can't separate yourself from the world. You can't separate the world from you. At the end of the day, everything you perceive, the world and all the crazy shit going on is happening in your experience. Only you are experiencing it, and every other human that's going through it is also within your window of experience. So what I'm trying to say is the world is literally within you. It is literally you. And it's something that I don't think we can really truly understand right now as humans. Like, it's not something that we can understand. And even talking about it really just like is so hard to explain. But there's nothing outside of you, because if you weren't here to perceive anything, there would be nothing. Because in order for there to be something, you would have to be perceiving it, So you have to kind of keep in mind that like everything happening is intimately a part of you. And, the universe is within you, and you are within like it's just like completely tied together. So I think always remembering that there is no real external circumstance. The way that I look at life is just kind of a constant test, a constant test of like, it's so convincing, it truly does feel like there are separate things from you. It truly does feel like there is a separate world and a separate reality. So for me, the test is always, can you stay aware of that, of the illusion, and still keep your awareness? Because there's so many moments where we get so sucked into it, into the world and into society, like everything that's happening, to the point where we really believe that it is like outside of us and it is real. But I think the test there is even when things feel like, they're happening to you and they're happening outside of you, even then can you maintain your space and maintain your perspective? And even then, can you not allow those things to determine how you feel? And to me, I always try to look at it as a challenge. Like when things get really intense and really hard and shit feels real, can I still find a way to navigate through that? Can I still find a way to maintain my acceptance and my awareness? And that's kind of what I've had in my mind, and that's what I'm going to continue to have in my mind. Because the more you do that, the more you build it, and the more aware you become, and the more you're able to just take things as they happen and remind yourself that it's just an experience. There's no real hills, there's no real valleys. It's all just the same one thing. And the hills are what make the valleys are what make the hills. And you start to kind of see it as this like, it seems like there's ups and downs, but it's really just one line. It's one like wavy, curvy line. And each peak and valley is just as valuable, and you start to really just feel like the good and the bad are only determined by you. What you project is negative becomes negative. What you project as positive becomes positive for you. So you decide those things. Reality doesn't decide those things for you. You decide them. So I think the more you can choose to look at everything as equally valuable, even if some things make you feel good and some things make you feel bad, just try to see it all as equally valuable and understand that like you can still maintain your space through all the shit. But the moment you allow it to determine how you feel is when you've lost. And we all have those moments. We do, and we're all going to continue to have them. But in this situation with everything that's happening in the world, it's like the ultimate test right now of like, can you come out on the other side unshaken from all this shit? Even when it's terrifying, it's uncertain, can you still just take a step back and experience it for what it is, and not allow it to change your perspective and make you fear the world and make you project this image of fear onto reality? Because I think that's kind of, unfortunately, a lot of humans, because we don't have this collective awareness of like understanding that there's more going on than what we're told. Like the illusion is so deep of, you know, everything that we built and society, and like it's so deep and it's so convincing, you know. It's just like I don't know, man. It's really nice to see more people like on YouTube especially like talking about these kind of things. It makes me feel way less alone in it, because, you know, I feed off those people who are making these kind of videos and talking about these kind of things, and there's lots of them now, which is amazing. So I feel like there is kind of this awareness that's kind of starting to happen, which is amazing. But I think like at the core we don't have that yet. You know, it's a very surface, ego-driven kind of world still. You know, and I think it's just, if you can be the kind of person that like doesn't view it that way and understands that there's so much more magic happening, and even the disaster in itself is beautiful. Like all of the disasters, like it's beautiful because it's all an experience, and it's all this universe expanding itself and collapsing and exploding, and just like it's creation, you know, like death is a part of creation. It's just like, it's this beautiful, crazy experience that you get to be a part of. And if you can try to live your life through that lens, then nothing that happens really, you know, it doesn't change the way you see it, you know, at the core. If you can really build that perspective for yourself and truly like wake up every day and understand that and realize that like whatever happens today is just as valuable as what's going to happen tomorrow and what happened yesterday. And understand that like it's all an experience, that it is you, you know, and you are it. There's no separating it from you. And if you really think about that, it's not something that you're going to like feel and understand overnight. But if you can really start to think about that, you know, things only happen when you're perceiving them, you know, and understand that the only thing you've ever seen or experienced are the things that you've seen or experienced. And that is such like a profound thing to truly understand, because you start to realize that everything is a part of you and you are part of everything. And even though that things appear separate, they're not, you know, they're you, and the whole world is you, and you get to determine your own experience of reality. And there are always these kind of two things at play. It's like it's almost like you're sitting in a theater, and reality is this giant movie screen that is like completely interactive. So it's almost like you forget you're watching the movie and that you're creating the movie too, you know, because there's like this weird time delay. But if you start to notice that, you know, the thoughts you think completely change your reality and completely change the way that you act, the way that other people treat you, the way that you are thankful for things or not thankful for things, like the thoughts you think and the value you place on, you know, gratitude and staying aware instead of, you know, being afraid and like being negative and talking about, you know, complaining. The more you develop these things, the more you start to see like it does have an effect on your, like direct effect on your reality, like completely does. So I don't know if this makes any sense. I really hope it does, but like I've just kind of lately been really realizing the value of that for myself. And like, you know, I just feel myself like chill, like way more chilled out than I used to be, you know. And that's just something that I'm very thankful for, because like I just always wanted to find like some kind of peace, you know. And I just feel very thankful for understanding that acceptance and, you know, keeping that awareness is so important. And I feel like creating, like lately I've created more music than like I ever have, like, and constantly kind of creating stuff has really helped me stay grounded and like, you know, kind of give myself like a purpose or give myself like a way to stay on the flow, you know, because for like and I think we should all do that. Like if there's anything that you do that, you know, just gets you into a flow state, do that as much as you can, because that makes it even easier to like go out there, face the world, and stay in your zone, because you have a foundation within yourself. You have, you know, some grounding. So yeah, I know this is a crazy time, but like don't be afraid of it. You know, embrace this shit. Like really embrace it and really just understand like there's always got to be a collapse, you know, before new growth. There's always got to be a forest fire before the new plants grow. And I think kind of the weird thing that I think about a lot is like the way that I see the world is completely different than the way you see it. And the way you see it is different from your mom and your dad and like everybody you know and everybody you don't know. So for me, like I always wonder kind of where everybody else is at and like what everyone else is thinking about it and wondering about it and like what everyone else is afraid of or like hoping for. Because right now for me, I do really see this big like light and dark kind of battle, and for whatever reason, I don't, and this is something that I really try to understand. Like, it appears to be that the people that are in control or in power that we give power to don't have good intentions for other people, and it seems to be this very strange like common thing that like the people that have power, like just don't have this light or awareness to them like at all, and that I think is the scariest part for everyone, because we're all afraid that like bad things are going to happen because the people with power want to kill everybody or like don't care, and I it's hard to say because we don't know what goes on behind the curtains, like we just don't unless you're like involved in that. But I like to think that I think like the light at some point always has to come through. It's like even if that is the case, and the veil has to kind of come off at some point, it really does. And I feel like there's so much shit that's come to light lately and going to continue to, that it's going to collapse eventually, and I don't know what that's going to mean. But all I really hope is that we can all kind of build this perspective and build this awareness and kind of build love instead of fear and not be afraid of things, so that we can kind of develop that energy on the earth, because I think that's just part of it, man. It's like if you can kind of develop that in yourself and you spread it to a couple other people, it's like you help to share that and spread that throughout the world, and you help to, like, if everybody had the perspective of everything's okay, reality, shouldn't be taken too seriously, everything is a part of me, I'm a part of everything. If everybody just like would take 5 minutes before they would talk, if everybody would sit down and have a cup of tea instead of yelling, if not everybody's afraid, if everybody shared that perspective, the world would be fucking amazing. But they don't. So that's why I think it's so important for you to develop that and try to spread that to other people, I don't know if that makes any sense. I really hope it does. But yeah, man. And if you're afraid of stuff, like let yourself be, but don't talk about it. Don't worry about it. Don't think about it. Don't complain about it. Just let it kind of happen. Remember that there is another side to that coin, and you don't have to focus on the fear. It feels like you have to, because that's all that anyone talks about, but you don't. You really don't have to. So just remember that, and it's all going to be all right, whatever happens, it's all going to be all right. And yeah, so thank you so much for watching. I hope this made sense. I have a hard time articulating this stuff sometimes, but all I'm kind of saying is like, just try to stay chill, like do your best, and whatever you got to do to make that happen for yourself, just do it, and kind of notice like when you start to take on that energy, like notice how it affects your life and the people around you. Like you start to see it, So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I will make another episode soon. And stay cozy as always. Make sure to subscribe. New music's coming soon. And all right, I will talk to you guys later. Peace out. Bye.